We begin with a prayer by Rabbi Naomi Levy. We are frightened, God, worried for our loved ones, worried for our world, helpless and confused. We turn to you seeking comfort, faith, and hope. Teach us, God, to turn our panic into patience and our fear into acts of kindness and support. Our strong must watch out for our weak. Our young must take care of our old. Help each one of us to do our part to halt the spread of this virus. Send strength and courage to the doctors and nurses in the front lines of this battle. Fortify them with the full force of their healing powers. Send wisdom and insight to the scientists working day and night across the world to discover healing treatments. Bless their efforts, God. Fill our leaders with the wisdom and the courage to choose wisely and act quickly. Help us, God, to see that we are one world, one people who will rise above this pandemic together. Send us health, God. Watch over us. Grace us with your love. Bless us with your healing light. Hear us, God. Heal us, God. And together we say, Amen. And now in a moment, the host is, okay. Tom, it looks like you've disabled the attendee screen sharing. It was working 2 minutes ago. Okay, there's a problem. Well, let's get out of this. Speaker view.
And now here it calls.
Okay, Don, try it again.
Yeah, I see it. There we go. Thank you. Forgive me for the size of the print. Can you all see that? What? Yeah, nod yes. So you will understand what this is soon. This is a Seder plate for our community, and this Haggadah helps us understand why these items are on this plate. So as I skip through some of this, this is an explanation of what the JQ International organization did to bring this to us. And so I'm reading here on page 3, where there's a little Hebrew. It says Baruch haba, Baruchim habaim, which is the way we say in Hebrew, welcome. We gather tonight together as a community to remember the bondage of our ancestors and the struggles of those that continue today, so that we may be inspired to cherish the freedom we now have, to recognize the bondage of those who are not yet free, and to encourage our collective call to help in the struggle to free all people and to value all people equally. On these evenings, the bond of friendship, love, family, and community reaches out from within, as from this gathering, to unite all humankind in remembering our collective history in hope for tomorrow. As a Jewish community, we are an old people. Our history reaches back over 4,000 years. In that history, our forebears have seen bondage and freedom. trial and triumph, high achievement and terrible disasters. Today, too, as we recline in the luxury of our freedom, let us not forget how deeply our neighbors in other places yearn for the simple necessity of release from their bondage and oppression, and those who sit here beside you, who have faced incredible challenges in their lives to gather here as a community. You don't have to be Jewish to celebrate freedom. Passover is a Jewish holiday, but it's not just for Jews. We welcome our non-Jewish friends to our celebration of liberation. Liberation from oppression is always a deep concern for Jews because of our history. We invite our friends and family to share this night with Jews all over the world as we take this opportunity to celebrate our freedom and pray for the freedom of all those who suffer, wherever and whomever they may be. So I will briefly read what the story is behind this particular Haggadah. According to Rabbi Moshe Lazarus, the word Haggadah comes from the Torah command, and you shall tell. The Higadetah, tell your children on that day. Although the minimal fulfillment of this mitzvah, this commandment, is a simple recounting of the going out of Egypt and explaining a few of the Passover symbols, proper fulfillment requires much more. Our Haggadah was created as a GLBT community response for the need of a fully inclusive and integrated GLBT Passover experience. In years past, GLBT Seders have incorporated select items of GLBT significance, such as an orange on the Seder plate and Miriam's cup. However, our Seders saw the need for fully integrated GLBT content. What sets this Haggadah apart is the creation and integration of the LGBT struggle, history, pain, and joy throughout the text as a conscious amalgamation to a holiday that has already grown synonymous with the Jewish GLBT civil liberties movement. Great care was taken, where did it go?
Scoot it down.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, but I went too far. Great care was taken to ensure, I will say, most of the elements of a traditional Seder were preserved while integrating the GLBT material into this Haggadah. Following the customary Seder order, 4 new segments have added ceremonious acts to the ritual nature of the traditionally well-organized Passover Seder. First, Eru'ayim means events in Hebrew. It's a recounting of the GLBT historical timeline of struggles and accomplishments over the last century. And so we need to begin. And can you all see the table of contents? Nod if you can. So we have Kadesh, the sanctification, Urchatz, washing of hands, Karpas, the eating of the green vegetables, Yachatz, breaking of the middle of the 3 matzot, Magid, the story of Exodus, but added is Eru'ayim, the reading of the GLBT timeline, Rachatz, washing of the hands before the meal, Motzi, blessing before the meal, Matzah, blessing for the matzah, Maror, eating of the bitter herbs, Korech, eating of the matzah and maror sandwich, Hakara, the conscious recognition of those not completely seen, Chamutz, eating of the sour vegetables, Haderech, the path, Shulchan Orech, the meal, and I lost it again. There we go. Haderech, Shulchan Orech, Tzafon, eating of the Afikomen, Barech, the Birkat Hamazon, which is kind of sort of what we're going to be doing as we skip some of those to do the whole thing. So this actually is the Magid section, the part where you're supposed to tell your children what happened to our people. During the time when Pharaoh issued his decree to kill Israelite males, Moses, who later was to lead the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt to freedom, was an infant. Now already we have a problem because in a traditional Haggadah, Moses is not mentioned at all. The rabbis did not want him to make him the center character in the story. So if you go through the Haggadah, you will not find Moshe anywhere in the story. His concerned mother, Jochebed, placed him in a basket of reeds in the Nile River, while Moses' sister, Miriam, watched from a distance to see who would come to find him. The basket was found by Pharaoh's daughter, who decided to raise the infant as her own son and named him Moses. She unknowingly hired Jochebed as a nurse to care for him, and Jochebed secretly taught Moses his Israelite heritage. At age 40, on a visit to see his fellow Israelites, Moses saw an Egyptian taskmaster beating an Israelite slave, and in his rage, killed the Egyptian. Fearing for his life, Moses fled Egypt. He fled across the desert, for the roads were watched by Egyptian soldiers, and he took refuge in Midian, an area in present-day northwestern Saudi Arabia along the eastern shores of the Red Sea. While in Midian, Moses met a Midianite priest named Jethro and became a shepherd for the next 40 years, eventually marrying one of Jethro's daughters, Zipporah. Then, when Moses was about 80 years of age, God spoke to him from a burning bush and said that he and his brother Aaron were selected by God to lead the Israelites out of Egypt to freedom. At first, Moses hesitated to take on such a huge task, but eventually Moses and his brother Aaron set about returning to Egypt, commencing what was to be the spectacular and dramatic events that are told in the story of Passover and the movie The Ten Commandments. It is said that the Israelites entered Egypt as a group of tribes and left Egypt as one nation. It has also been estimated that the Passover Exodus population comprised about 3 million people, plus numerous flocks of sheep, who all crossed over the border of Egypt to freedom in Canaan. Now, I once taught a class that was called The Exodus Decoded, and the archaeologists who were trying to find the route that the Israelites took said there is no way that 3 million people could have made it to Mount Sinai in the 40 days. Well, it took them 2 years to get to the mountain. So, but we believe in this legend. It's part of our story. Under the reign of Pharaoh Thutmose III in Egypt in 1476 BCE, before the Common Era, the Israelite leader Moses, guided by God, there we go.
Can you read the whole thing?
I can't see the whole thing. I know. Guided by God, led. All right, I'm going to the next page. There were 2 plagues. The first one was frogs. The second one was flies, locusts, whatever. After the first 2 plagues, the Pharaoh refused to let them go. We need matches for the candles, and the candles aren't set. After the first 2 plagues, the Pharaoh refused to let them go because his court magicians were able to recreate the same miracles. And so Pharaoh thought, this proves that the Israelite God is not stronger than I. But when the 3rd plague occurred, the Pharaoh's magicians were not able to duplicate this miracle. However, that still did not change Pharaoh's mind about letting the Israelites leave Egypt. After each subsequent plague, the Pharaoh agreed to let the Israelites go. But the Pharaoh soon changed his mind and continued to hold the Israelites as slaves. Finally, after the 10th plague, Pharaoh let the Israelites go for good. When he finally agreed to free the slaves, they left their home so quickly that there wasn't even time to bake their bread. So they packed the raw dough to take with them on the journey. As they fled through the desert, they would quickly bake the dough in the hot sun into hard crackers, which we call matzah. Today, to commemorate this event, Jews eat matzah in place of bread during Passover. Though the Israelites were now free, their liberation was incomplete. The Pharaoh's army chased them through the desert towards what we know now is the Sea of Reeds, not the Red Sea. When the Israelites reached the sea, they were trapped, since the sea blocked their escape. When the Israelites saw the Egyptian army fast approaching toward them, they called out in despair to Moses. Fortunately, God intervened and commanded Moses to strike his staff on the waters of the Sea of Reeds, creating a rift of land between the waves, enabling the Israelites to cross through the Sea of Reeds to safely on the other side. Once the Israelites were safely across, God then commanded Moses to strike the waters of the Sea of Reeds with his staff again, just as the Egyptian army followed them through the parted sea. Archaeologists think that they have actually located the spot where all of this occurred, and it was a marsh with reeds growing out of it. And if you've ever seen a strong wind blow on the waves as they are coming into a beach, if they're strong enough, the beach can more of what's under the waves can be seen. And you know, if you're an archaeologist trying to prove that all of this might have happened, that's the explanation they give. The waters came together again, drowning the entire Egyptian army, and the Israelites were saved. And that's the story we're supposed to tell the next generation. So next we have the section called Kadesh, holiness. All right, now I'm going to turn my computer so you can see Jan lighting the candles. This is the only mitzvah that you're supposed to do before you recite the blessing. So Jan's going to light the candles now, and I will show you Jan lighting the candles. The candles of this good holiday. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel yom tov. Blessed are you, our God, ruler of the universe, who sanctifies us with commandments and commandments to light the candles on this holiday. It's also followed by the prayer, which you know, Shehechianu, which theoretically we were only supposed to recite last night, only on the first night when the holiday begins. But taking some cantorial authority, I have decided that there is no reason why we can't recite it, since this is the first time we have all gathered together for a Seder. So if you're not embarrassed, please join me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechiyanu v'kimanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. Amen. And now I am going to quickly, if I can, skip to, is this page 15? No, here we are. Sorry. All right, yeah, but first, one of 4 sips of wine, or if you would like, you can drink a whole cup. If I drank the whole cup, I wouldn't be able to finish the service. So there are 4 cups. And if you know why there are 4 cups, why we raise the glass and thank God for this repast of joy, it's because that in the book of Exodus, 4 times, God says how he will liberate us from Egypt, taken from Exodus chapter 6, verse 6, verse 16. The first one is, I will free you, God says. The second one is, I will deliver you. The third cup is, I will redeem you. And the fourth cup is, I will take you. And so, no. My wine. Okay, here we go. So I raise the cup of wine and we read together. We sanctify the name of God and proclaim the holiness of this festival of Passover. With a blessing over wine, we lift our wine, our symbol of joy. Let us welcome the festival of Passover. And in unison we say, our God and God of our ancestors, we thank you for enabling us to gather in friendship to observe the festival of freedom. Just as for many centuries, the Passover Seder has brought together families and friends to retell the events that led to our freedom. So may we be at one with Jews everywhere who perform this ancient ritual, linking us with our historic past. As we relive each event in our people's ancient struggle and celebrate their emergence from slavery to freedom, we pray that all of us may keep alive in our hearts the love of liberty. May we dedicate our lives to the abolition of all forms of tyranny and injustice. Reclining to our left side demonstrates our freedom from slavery. We hold our first cup of wine as we sing, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
I'm holding a wine glass from my bar mitzvah.
Blessed are you, Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who creates the fruit of the vine. But don't drink quite yet. What? You were about to drink? Okay. So, no, I think we can. Yeah, take a drink. Manischewitz. Almost as good as Robitussin. So next we have in our list, in our order, washing hands. Now, we don't say the blessing, although I hear, we wash our hands omitting the blessing. And
Here's the towel. Do we use that, or don't we just?
Yeah, you can do it.
We'll use that one.
Yeah, we'll wash our hands. So I'm just going to dip my fingers in the water. Can you see? I'm dipping fingers in the water. Blah, 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 blah. Glub, 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 glub. And I wipe my fingers. And then I hold it for Jan while he dips his fingers over there.
Those are my fingers in his screen. And I have to let the dog in. The dog's outside. Hold on.
Is there a plate here? Is that what I'm saying? No, that's the
matzah.
Here, take this. Okay, so the first thing is eating a green vegetable. The traditional Haggadah preserves some customs from when the temple was still in existence in Jerusalem. All formal dinners began with an appetizer. Karpas is the appetizer of the Passover meal. It may consist of any green vegetable, parsley, lettuce, endives, cress, even scallion. The green vegetable is a symbol of springtime and the miracles of nature's renewal. At this season, when Mother Earth arrays herself anew, the human spirit rises and we renew our faith in a world where freedom and justice will prevail. Our dog wants ice. He's come to me begging. The salt water into which the karpas is dipped has been interpreted as salty tears to remind us of the tears shed by the oppressed Israelites. So if you have some parsley or lettuce or whatever, okay, there's our parsley. Here is our salt water. We do the dipping if you want to. And then we recite the blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri adama. Blessed are you, Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who creates the fruit of the earth. And then we eat the parsley. And
Hey.
I'm sorry. And once we've eaten the parsley,
Dipped in salt water because.
that's fine.
Okay.
Once we eat the parsley, which is an appetizer, it's all right to eat other things while we're waiting for the meal to start, like olives or celery, the list that I talked about earlier. So if you're hungry, eat away. So look, this is the JQ Seder plate, and includes some special symbol items, including an orange, which carries the seed of rebirth and represents the diversity of the Jewish community as we increase inclusion, a coconut for the LGBT community still in the closet and their struggle in coming out, sour vegetables for the flavor of hatred and bigotry, fruit salad for our collective potential and recognition, flowers, sticks, and stones for the path of all of us as LGBT and allies who are on as we move through life and play our role in the development, who are one, I think it's supposed to say, of our culture and commemoration of our history. And many times people have been putting an orange on the Seder plate as well. But Jan and I have decided this year to put on our Seder tower, which I'll show you in a moment, an apple, to remember all of those people in the Big Apple in New York City who are suffering and incredibly afraid that they may be the next to catch this virus.
I can put that over there too, so they can see it.
Where? Oh, okay. Yeah.
Just let me know when you want stuff over there.
I think we all know how the Israelites wound up in Egypt in the first place. That's part of the story. And now we come to look at what it says, the 5 questions. Normally we would call it the 4 questions, but they have included a 5th question. The 4 questions traditionally ask us, what is unique or different about tonight? That's not even the first question. And some people interpret the word ma not to mean why, but to mean how. How, my goodness, how is this night different from all other nights? And why do we eat matzah? Why do we dip, and eat bitter herbs? Not just once, but twice. And why do we recline? These elements are symbolic themes that mirror the reflections of our ancestors' liberation from slavery, the hardships they experienced, and the oppression that infringed on their freedoms. Tonight at our GLBT Passover Seder, we incorporate a 5th question and answer. What is unique or different about tonight's Seder? Why tonight do we have pride? Pride is a very symbolic word in our community. We use this word often. And tonight we have the opportunity to demonstrate how proud we are of our sexual orientation and gender identity. And so under here, it's transliterated, and I'll move to the next page when we get to the bottom of the page. So the word, oh, I'm going to do it here.
Who's the youngest one?
Oh, Jan's going to sing it because he's the youngest one in our household, except for Reuben, but he hasn't had his bar mitzvah yet, so he's not allowed to sing it. Okay, Jan, hit it.
Ma nishtana halayla hazeh mikol halelot.
And everybody can repeat that. Mikol halelot,
Shebechol halelot. Anu
chametz umatzah. Everybody, chametz.
חמץ ומצה,
Halayla hazeh,
הלילה הזה, הלילה הזה, הלילה הזה, ומצה.
Shebechol halelot.
Anu she'ar yirakot, she'ar yirakot. Halayla
זה, הלילה הזה, מרור, מרור,
halayla zeh, halayla zeh, maror.
מרור, מרור.
Shebechol halelot. Anu
Ben yoshvinu, ben misubin, ben yoshvinu, ben misubin. Yeah, it is. Halayla.
הלילה הזה, הלילה הזה, כולנו מסובים,
Halayla zeh, halayla zeh.
כולנו מסובים.
Shebechol halelot anu. Oh, we did that already. So new.
The fifth one was in the
It's coming.
no, it's before.
Why is that? We're gonna have an argument online. Why is this night different from all other nights? On all other nights, we eat either leavened bread or matzah. Why on this night do we eat only matzah? On all other nights, we eat all kinds of herbs. Why on this night do we eat only bitter herbs? On all other nights, we do not dip herbs. Why on this night do we dip them twice? On all other nights, we eat sitting or reclining on pillows. Why on this night do we eat only reclining on pillows? And the fifth question, Shebechol halelot, Seder anu osim, Seder masarti, halayla hazeh kulanu ga'im. On all other Seder nights, we do a traditional Seder. Why on this night do we have pride? So let's see. Let me see who I'm going to call on somebody, Tom. So Linda, are you there? Can I ask you to be speaker one?
Which Linda do you want? There's a couple of us or more.
Oh, yeah, Linda Evans. Linda Moidell, I'll get to you in a second.
Okay, fine.
All right, Linda,
Okay. Where do you want me to read?
where it says speaker one.
Speak up. Well, yes. We were slaves in Egypt. Our ancestor in flight from Egypt did not have time to let the dough rise. With not a moment to spare, they snatched up the dough as they had prepared and fled. But the hot sun beat as they carried the dough along with them and baked it into the flat, unleavened bread we call matzah.
Linda Moidell, you're on.
Okay.
Two.
The first time we dip our greens to taste the brine of enslavement, we also dip to remind ourselves of all life and growth of earth and sea, which gives us sustenance and comes to life again in the springtime.
Okay. Our guest, Rachel
Secor.
Rachel, would you be willing to read speaker 3 when I bring it back up?
Sure.
Okay, thanks. Can you see it?
I see speaker 3. The
That's
second
you.
time we dip the maror into the charoset reminds us of the mortar that our ancestors mixed as slaves in Egypt. but our charoset is made of fruit and nuts to show us that our ancestors were able to withstand the bitterness of slavery because it was sweetened by the hope of freedom.
Okay, David Taffet, would you please read speaker 4? If you're there. Okay.
Slaves were not allowed to rest, not even while they ate. Since our ancestors were freed from slavery, we recline to remind ourselves that we, like our ancestors, can overcome bondage in our own time. We also recline to remind ourselves that rest and rejuvenation are vital to continuing our struggles. We should take pleasure in reclining, even as we share our difficult history.
Lisa, would you read speaker 5?
So,
Tom, you need to unmute
Liz Messiah.
Lisa Messiah.
Messiah.
No,
Lesbian. Okay. Sorry.
Okay.
We are proud to be gay, straight, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, queer, and everything else under the rainbow. And all of us together add the meaning to the old age Jewish tradition. For that we have pride. As a community, we have come far, and while we are not done with our struggle, we should reflect proudly on our accomplishments as we celebrate here tonight at our GLBT Passover Seder.
Thank you. I didn't mean to surprise anybody. And now we come to the famous 4 children. The supportive, open-minded child. How do we make our GLBT Seder more inclusive? We seek to ensure that everyone is included, that all their needs are being met. For example, there's a movement to encourage the use of gender-neutral pronouns like ze for he, she, and here for him, her at inclusive Seders. We have incorporated many new traditions into this Seder, for example, the orange on our Seder plate, or the apple, or the creation of a whole second Seder plate. While discussing the ancient oppression in Egypt, we should recognize today's oppression and the struggles for women's rights, GLBT rights, racial equality, and the elimination of unfair discrimination, and the assurance of equal rights for all. And now I'd like to call on our president to read about the hateful child.
The hateful child. Why must you have your own queer GLBT Seder? Judaism is about incorporating each individual's needs into community and cultural celebrations. Very often, traditional Seders are not sufficiently inclusive of queer people's needs. A Seder is a moment to reflect upon the painful lessons of long ago. What better time is there to discuss how these barbaric practices of hate and discrimination still thrive today? Let our Seder symbolize our queer ability to overcome obstacles for a brighter future.
Diane, are you there to read as soon as I can pull it up? How can I get rid of this?
hit that right there. Hit
That.
that.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
There you go.
So
She's unmuted.
why should I participate?
Move it a little bit more. Thank
How's
you.
that? Welcome.
It is in one's best interest to recognize the world around him or her, and to become involved in making a better future for everyone. The following quote about the Holocaust by a contemporary socialist activist illustrates this point. First, they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me.
Karen Abels, would you read The Ignorant or Closeted Child? Yeah, I want, Robin and Karen, why don't you read it together?
Wait a minute, you're unmuted. You're not muted. I mean, you are muted. Tom,
There we go.
There you go. Go ahead.
The ignorant or closeted child does not know how to ask or perhaps is too afraid. The child must receive support and guidance from the community. A community that fosters support, tolerance, and understanding is vital to creating an environment where one can explore one's own identity and understand others.
Thank you. Let me see if I can do this. No, that's not what I want to do. Hold on a second. I want to get to another. Got to sing one. Share screen. Okay. I think this is it. So look, and we sing the Ballad of the Four Sons to Clementine, which really incorporates the traditional story of the four sons. So join me. Said the father to his children, at the Seder you will dine, you will eat your fill of matzah, you will drink 4 cups of wine. Now this father had no daughters, but his sons, they numbered 4. One was wise and one was wicked, one was simple and the poor, and the 4th was sweet and winsome.
Wisdom he was young when he was small.
All his brothers
asked the questions, who he scarcely speak at all.
Said the wise one to his father, would you please explain the laws of the customs of the Seder? Will you please explain the cause? And the father proudly answered, as our father ate in speed, ate the Paschal lamb ere midnight, and from slavery were freed. So we follow their example, and ere midnight must complete all the Seder, and we should not after 12 remain to eat. Then did sneer the son so wicked, what does all this mean to you? And the father's voice was bitter as his grief and anger grew. If yourself you don't consider as a son of Yisrael, then for you this has no meaning. You could be a slave as well. Then the simple son said simply, what is this? And quietly the good father told his offspring, we were freed from slavery. But the youngest son was silent, for he could not ask it all. His bright eyes were bright with wonder as his father told him all. My dearest children, heed the lesson and remember evermore what the father told his children, told his sons that number 4. There it is. Okay, and now we're going to share the screen and go back to the Haggadah. Yeah, I think that's it. Let me open it up. That's not what I want. Okay, hold on a second. No, I think that's what I just looked at. Let's try that. What's going on? Sorry. All right, I'll try a different one. Did I do that? Did I do that one? Okay. I'm at the bottom of the page, 27. Rabbi Gamliel, grandson of the great sage Hillel, taught, one who has not explained the following 3 symbols of the Seder has not fulfilled the festival obligations. But first, so that's part of the traditional Seder, but they put our own Magid, the story of our people. In 1939, Gad Beck, a gay Jewish teenager living in Hitler's Germany, joined the Jewish underground, smuggling food, arranging housing, and helping Jews escape from Berlin, often by bribing German officials. Between 1955 and 56, Allen Ginsberg authors Howl, which contains gay sexual imagery. And we remember that in 1969, the Stonewall Rebellion took place in New York City. In 1972, 2 gay men and 2 lesbians decided to form their own synagogue in Los Angeles. Beth Chaim Chadashim holds its first service in July of 1972. In London, the Jewish gay and lesbian group JGLG is formed. In 1974, Beth Chaim Chadashim is chartered by the Union of American Hebrew Congregations, making it not only the first gay and lesbian synagogue, but also the first gay religious organization of any kind to be officially recognized by an American national body. And Lana Soroka, who is with us this evening, wave so we know where you are, was very influential in the continuation of Beth Chaim Chadashim, which still survives today. In 1974, David Goodstein buys the LA Advocate, which will become the largest circulating gay newspaper. 1978, Rabbi Alan Bennett allows himself to be outed in the San Francisco Chronicle as the first gay rabbi in the United States. 1980, World Congress of Gay and Lesbian Jewish Organizations founded. 84, the Reconstructionist Rabbinical College faculty votes to admit gay and lesbian students. 89, Barney Frank comes out as the first openly gay Jewish member of our Congress. 1992, the conservative branch of Judaism, its law committee declared that Jewish law clearly prohibited commitment ceremonies for same-sex couples and the admission of openly gay people, rabbinic or cantorial schools. 93, Israel forbids discrimination against sexual orientation in its military. 97, the Jerusalem Open House is founded to serve the city's gay community regardless of religion or nationality. And there's more and more and more. Interesting, look at 2003, Hebrew Union College Institute of Religion, from which I graduated, admits the first openly transgender rabbinical student in the world. 2004, JQ International is born to serve the 20s and 30s demographic of the LGBT Jewish community with specific programming designed to fully integrate and reconcile the Jewish and GLBT identity among its young adult members. And I need to go on. In 2007, the Jewish Theological Seminary, the intellectual and spiritual center of conservative Judaism, began accepting openly gay and lesbian candidates into its rabbinical and cantorial schools. Jan's brother, Rabbi Dov, graduated from the Jewish Theological Seminary, and we were married in 2003, and people got wind of it in the conservative movement, and they chastised him and said that he might very well be in a lot of trouble. And only 5 years later, his movement decided that, yes, gay and lesbian candidates could be admitted into its rabbinical and cantorial schools. In 2008, the first fully integrated GLBT Haggadah is created. Here are our 10 plagues, the GLBT 10 plagues. These events on our timeline reflect mostly accomplishments of the GLBT community in the face of adversity. Tonight, we acknowledge and recognize the community's endurance under 10 additional plagues. For each of these plagues, we continue our tradition of dipping our fingertips in our wine cups, and for each plague, we place 1 drop of wine on our plates. So if you wish to participate with that, and we will do the real 10 plagues in a minute. All right. Here, look. Okay. So, not much in there. Can you give me some more wine? So I take my pinky, and I dip it into the wine, and I say, blood, the blood shed in the Nazi death camps and in queer bashings. Laughing, the laughter caused by our stereotyped representation in jokes and in the media. Guilt, the guilt we are told is inherent in our simple existence. Shame, the shame we are made to feel when we share our lives and our bodies with someone of the same gender as ourselves. Despair, the despair we feel when we are told that we are evil and monstrous, that AIDS is God's judgment upon us. Fear, the fear caused by the hostile society that would cast us out if it knew what we are. Pain, the physical pain of being attacked by homophobes and the mental pain of being rejected by family and community. Part of that is loneliness, the loneliness of thinking that we are the only one of our kind. Darkness, the darkness of our closets and of where many of us are forced to spend our lives. The bars, the parks, the unsafe neighborhoods. Silence, the hollow silence of when we do not speak out in our own defense. The silence from one generation to another. And in unison we say, we may not have individually felt each plague, but since they affect our community on a global level, they afflict us as well. Let us not become complacent, and let us not become so involved with our own problems that we forget others and also suffer. The path out of Egypt is open to all who flee slavery and seek the promised land. To cleanse ourselves and wash off these 10 GLBT plagues that still exist in our world today, we wash our hands. And now the second cup, but first, so pour yourself a cup of wine or fill your glass. With a finger, remove a drop of wine from your cup and wipe it on your plate. Do not stick your finger in your mouth because you're eating the slaying of the firstborn plague. You want to diminish the joy of the wine tenfold. And so we read slowly together. Blood, frogs, lice, wild beasts, blight, boils, hail, locusts, darkness, and the slaying of the firstborn. Dayenu, it would have been enough for us. We show our gratitude for each of the many ways God protected us and the Israelites as they journeyed from slavery to freedom. We acknowledge that each saving act would have been enough for us, Dayenu. Nevertheless, we are grateful for God's manifold gift, and we sing Dayenu.
So don't get scared.
Right, we're not going to do the whole thing, so don't get scared. So I'll read, had God brought us out of Egypt and not divided the sea for us, and you say, Dayenu. Had God divided the sea and not permitted us to cross on dry land?
Dayenu.
Had God divided the sea and not permitted us to cross?
Dayenu.
You're disturbing me. Had God kept us for 40 years in the desert and not fed us with manna? Dayenu.
Dayenu.
God fed us with manna and not given us the Sabbath? Dayenu.
Dayenu.
Had God given us the Sabbath and not led us to Mount Sinai? Dayenu. Had God led us to Mount Sinai and not given us the Torah? Dayenu. Had God given us the Torah and not led us into the land of Israel? Dayenu. Had God led us into the land of Israel, not built for us the temple? Dayenu. Had God built for us the temple and not sent us prophets of truth? Dayenu. Had God sent us prophets of truth and not made us a holy people? Dayenu. It would have been enough for us. To save time, we'll only do the first verse. and the words aren't exactly what we sing because it's the lengthier, had God brought us out of Egypt and not divided the sea for us, but we know Ilu hotzi hotzianu mi Mitzrayim dayenu 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 dayenu, and we need to move on. So soon we are going to pretend we're going to eat, and we're going to wash our hands. So those of you who are going to do this custom, we say, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu al netilat yadayim. Blessed are you, Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who sanctifies us with commandments and commands us to wash our hands.
The water's right there.
Okay, you want to show them what I'm doing? Okay, moving right along. Excuse me. Traditional Seder plate symbols. Jan will hold up the roasted shank bone of a lamb. Reminds us that the Holy One, praise be God, passed over the houses of our ancestors in Egypt. And why is it a lamb? Because they used the shank bone of a lamb to draw those symbols on people's doorposts. Matzah is to remind us that before the dough of our ancestors prepared for bread had time to rise, God revealed the might, power, and presence of God unto them and redeemed them. The bitter herb are to remind us that the Egyptians embittered the lives of our ancestors in Egypt. In gratitude for the miracle which God has performed for our ancestors and for us from the days of old to this time, we raise our cups of wine and together we say, therefore, we should thank and praise, laud and glorify, exalt and honor, extol and adore God, who performed all these miracles for our ancestors and for us. God brought us from slavery to freedom, from sorrow to joy, from mourning to festivity, from darkness to great light, and from bondage to redemption. And let us then say, hallelujah, but you don't drink the wine. So now we have the motzi and matzah, the blessing over bread specifically. Then we do a blessing over matzah. So we take the uppermost matzah, break it into pieces, and distribute it to each participant as our Seder. Oh, I just got crumbs all over my computer. So please join me in the motzi, the blessing over bread. Baruch atah, what did I just do? Eloheinu melech haolam. Back to the meeting. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. You got it. Amen. But don't eat it yet, because we've got Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tamanu. You're doing the kiddush. V'tzivanu al achilat matzah. See if this is it. Yes. Okay. Blessed are you, Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who sanctifies us with commandments, commands us to eat matzah. And now you can take some if you've got some and eat it. Eating the bitter herbs. We take some maror and we have an actual slice from a root of the horse radish. And we say, this is a special melody. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al achilat maror. Blessed are you, God, ruler of the universe, who sanctifies us with commandments and commands us to eat maror. And now we make the famous maror and charoset sandwich. To the sage Hillel, eating matzah and maror together was not a trivial matter. To him, slavery and freedom were merged in one historic event. The bread of poverty became the bread of freedom and was tasted together with maror, so that one should know both bitterness of slavery and the joy of freedom. In the time of freedom, we remember the bitterness of slavery. In time of oppression, we keep alive the hope of freedom. This is why Hillel's practice of eating matzah and maror together has such an important message for us today. And so we make the famous Hillel sandwich with no blessing. We just eat it. Mm-hmm. Hi. Oh. Okay. Yeah, gotta move. So, why do we have an orange and a coconut on our virtual Seder plate? Rachel Secor, yoo-hoo. Oh, she did?
Yeah, I'll show you.
Oh,
Mom.
right. Oh, Ina Gartenberg, Mom, would you read speaker 1 on page 42?
Ina Gartenberg.
Okay, Tom, unmute Ina Gartenberg, please. Again. Well, again, what again?
Yeah, unmuted, and then she's
No.
not.
Is she there?
Yeah, she's speaking.
She's not unmuted. Can you? Oh.
He, there you go.
There we go. Okay, Mom, start all over again, please.
In our own day, as in the ancient days of our tradition, an event becomes a story. A story is woven with new legends, and the legends lead the path into new teachings. So it is with the orange on the Seder plate.
Abiel, would you read speaker number 2, please?
To begin with, in the early 1980s, while speaking at Oberlin College Hillel, Susanna Heschel was introduced to an early feminist Haggadah that suggested adding a crust of bread on the Seder plate as a sign of solidarity with Jewish lesbians. There's as much room for a lesbian in Judaism as there is for a crust of bread on the Seder plate. Herschel felt that to put bread on the Seder plate would be to accept that Jewish lesbians and gay men violate Judaism like Hametz violates Passover. So at her next Seder, she chose an orange as a symbol of inclusion of gays and lesbians and others who are marginalized within the Jewish community.
Tanya, would you read speaker number 3? Tanya is, Tanya Strassner. She is one of Jan's co-workers joining us. Oh, and mine too, right. Working at Pathway Hospice.
You said 3, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Heschel offered the orange as a symbol of the fruitfulness for all Jews, representing lesbians and gay men and their contributions as active members in Jewish life. In addition, each orange segment had a few seeds that had to be spit out, a gesture of spitting out, repudiating the homophobia of Judaism.
Avril, would you read speaker number 4? Thank you.
Unmute.
All right. Avril needs to unmute.
Tell her wait.
Okay, wait, we can't hear you yet. Wait, Tom, can you unmute Avril?
There you
Okay, go ahead, you're on.
Okay, can you make the font a little bigger, please? Are you able to?
I'm not. Oh, wait.
Okay, there we go. Okay, great. While lecturing, Herschel often mentioned her custom as one of many feminist rituals that have been developed in the last 20 years. She writes, somehow, though the typical patriarchal maneuver occurred, my idea of an orange and my intention of affirming lesbians and gay men were transformed. Now the story circulates that a man said to me that a woman belongs on the bima as an orange on the Seder plate. A woman's words are attributed to a man, and the affirmation of lesbians and gay men is erased. Isn't that precisely what's happened over the centuries to women's ideas?
Arlene, would you read speaker 5?
Unmute. Wait till you're unmuted.
Wait till you're unmuted.
There you go.
Okay.
We place an orange on our Seder plate to symbolize the affirmation of lesbians and gay men and to ensure we continue to cherish that growth of Judaism. Tonight, all the excluded of our people, lesbians, gay men, bisexuals, transgender, women, Jews by choice, and all who have felt left out, take their full and rightful place in shaping the future of our people and traditions by placing the orange on its own Seder plate. Our 2 Seder plates represent the duality of symbolism as we sit here at GLBT Passover Seder, the Jewish traditions that we embrace since ancient days, and our transformation as GLBT Jews into equal contributors to the growth of our people's traditions.
Carrie, would you read speaker 6? So why an orange, but wait till you're unmuted.
So why orange?
Yep.
Because the orange carries within itself the seeds of its own rebirth. So have gay men and lesbians, bisexuals, women, and Jews by choice within Judaism give birth to their own inclusion.
Thank you. Orpha, would you read speaker 7?
Wait, you're unmuted.
Wait. You're not unmuted yet. We're waiting for Tom to find you.
Thomas, the one that says Samsung.
Oh, Orpha, can you unmute yourself?
Orpha, can you unmute yourself?
Oh, okay.
There we go. Yep.
Also because an orange provides both food and drink. It alone could sustain life for quite some time. So have queer Jews and others on the outskirts of the tradition had at times to sustain themselves until others understood and chose to welcome and include instead of turning away.
Michael McKinney, would you read speaker 8?
This year, we'll do more than let the orange sit upon the Seder plate as a silent symbol, unconsumed. Tonight, we will say the blessing and taste the sweetness of our orange and use it to add flavor to our haroset to remind us that we are all a part of the mortar that binds our people together. Take note how the flavor of the haroset changes when we are able to taste the sweetness of integration.
Richard Turek, would you read speaker 9?
Wait, he's not muted. He's not muted.
Wait a second, you gotta be unmuted first.
There you go.
Okay.
Tonight, the orange is joined by the coconut, which represents those who are still locked inside their shell, hiding from the world their inner beauty as an out and proud GLBT Jew. We notice that the shell is nearly impossible to crack with our bare hands, and equally difficult.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Now I'm lost.
All right, way at the bottom of the page.
And equally difficult for the beauty inside to escape on its own.
Great. Susan, would you please read speaker 10? 10.
We all know from,
Right.
I lost it.
Yeah, so did I. Okay, go ahead.
You need to scroll up a little. We all know from experience that once a coconut
Is open
Well-
up. All right, now here we go. The richness.
the richness of its inner essence pours out almost with excitement of its long-awaited liberation. Tonight, we hold up our coconut and recognize the struggle of coming out as something most of us have experienced personally. I ask, should anyone like to try to open this coconut with their bare hands, do so now.
Tim, would you read speaker 10? Wait, you gotta be unmuted by Tom, or you can unmute yourself.
All right, there I am.
Okay.
Okay. Otherwise, we wait patiently for those who struggle silently with their shells, within their shells, to join us here. Hopefully next year to celebrate our GLBT experience and free our people.
And so we symbolically think about an orange being peeled and sliced into segments. For both the orange and the coconut, we make a conscious decision to recognize that those who have not fully been seen by everyone in our society, we take a piece of orange and imagine a piece of coconut and recite, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri ha'etz. Blessed are you, Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who creates the fruit of the tree. And now I think we need to move on. And here is the Shulchan Orech, the meal, which we are going to skip until we get through this. And we say in unison, enjoying the festival meal as we enjoy our festival meal, we pray that joy and contentment may soon be the lot of all God's children in a world of peace and freedom. So all of this, we're now into the third cup. Pour yourself some wine if you need it, and raise your cup, because God said, the third, I will redeem you from an outstretched arm. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Blessed are you, Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who creates the fruit of the vine. So next, we have a cup that is specifically for Elijah the prophet. And there is the cup. And we wait for his arrival. Oh, I can't see what I'm reading.
Oh, I'll do it. Sorry.
Okay. So now we're going to open the door and let the dog out and let Elijah in. Reuben, come on. Reuben.
We can't hear him.
Oh. Well, I don't see how I can.
Now we can.
Okay. Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Agiladi, Bimera Veyamenu, Yavu Eleinu, Imashiach ben David, Imashiach ben David.
Avi said, don't let Elijah in because of social distancing.
Right. And now we have a cup of water for Miriam the prophet. Yeah, how do you like that? According to Rabbi Susan Schnur, Miriam is a central figure in the Passover drama. She stands guard loyally with her baby brother Moses while when he's set floating on the Nile, and she arranges for a wet nurse, Moses' own mother, who gets paid by Pharaoh's daughter for caretaking and living with her own child, even though it was she was underpaid. Miriam leads the Israelites in singing and dancing, the most natural expression of religious joy, after they cross the Sea of Reeds. And she dies by the kiss of God. The angel of death, we are told, has no power over her. After in the desert, the Israelites lose their most precious possession, water. And it's then that Miriam's grieving brother strikes the rock. The Midrash teaches us that the water which disappeared at Miriam's death came from a miraculous well, created during twilight on the eve of the world's first Shabbat. God gave the well to Miriam because of her holiness, and it was intended to accompany the Israelites in the desert throughout the span of her life. Miriam's well, as it was called, not only quenched thirst, it also cured body and soul. Both Miriam and her well were spiritual oases in the desert bedrock sources of nurturance and healing. And we sing together Miriam's song by Debbie Friedman in honor of Miriam and the Israelite women at the crossing at the sea. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced the whole night long. And Miriam was a weaver of unique variety. The tapestry she wove was one which sang our history. With every thread and every strand she crafted her delight. A woman touched with spirit, she dances toward the light. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced the whole night long. Yeah, I'm afraid we need to move on. No offense to the women and Miriam. So we move to the fourth cup of wine. Yippee! I will take you as my own people. We raise and fill our glasses, and we once again, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Blessed are you, our God, ruler of the universe, who creates the fruit of the vine. For the children of Israel went out with a high hand. And so we are coming to the end. Shortened translation of Echad Miyudea, who knows one. We start from the bottom and read up together. Oh, I didn't take a sip of wine. Mm-hmm. One is our God, who is in heaven and earth. 2 are the tablets of the commandments. 3 are our forefathers. 4 are matriarchs. 5 are the books of the Torah. 6 are the orders of the Mishnah. 7 are the days in a week till Shabbat. 8 are the days to the Brit Milah. 9 are the months before birth. 10 are the commandments. 11 are the stars in Joseph's dream. And 12 are the tribes of Israel. Who knows 13? I know 13. 13 are the attributes of God. In every generation, where's that prayer? In every generation, we should all feel as though we ourselves have gone forth from Egypt as it is written. And you shall explain to, it's too late, to your child on that day, it is because of what God did for me when I myself went forth from Egypt. So, no.
I'll read it.
Okay, Jan's going to read a special prayer
Keep that, no, just keep it there.
Yeah, yeah.
So you looking at you.
Okay,
Hold on, let me focus on you. Okay, stay there.
I'm here. Where'd you find this prayer?
A friend shared it with me. Kathy Schneider, the precinct chair.
You just had it. What happened? There we go.
Why is this Pesach different from all other years? This is by Rich Gitlin. You can keep it so they can look at you. In all other years, we gather with family and friends. This year we shelter in place. In all other years, we tell the story of our coming out of Egypt. This year we tell the stories of everyday heroes. In all other years, we dip karpas into salt water. This year we shed tears for those that are suffering today. In all other years, we eat matzah, the bread of affliction. This year we pray for the afflicted. Our traditional Magid begins. This is the bread of affliction. May all who are hungry come and eat. This year we pray. May all those who are ill receive healing. May all those that are lonely find companionship. May all those that are questioning find answers. May the healers find protection. May parents guide their children with calm, and may the children support their parents with love, and partners as well for each other. May this scourge upon us come to an end, and may God's light break through the darkness. May our sheltered and upended lives return with purpose and respect for one another. Now we are here. Next year we will be together. Now are the days of doubt and worry. Next year we'll see the Pesach of new beginnings.
Amen. And so we're back to the end of our Seder. We read together, may slavery give way to freedom. May hate give way to love. May ignorance give way to wisdom. May despair give way to hope. Next year at this time, may everyone, everywhere be free. Next year in Jerusalem, Lishana Haba'a, Lishana Haba'a, Lishana Haba'a, Be'Yerushalayim, Lishana Haba'a, Lishana Haba'a, Lishana Haba'a, Be'Yerushalayim, Lishana Haba'a, Lishana Haba'a, Be'Yerushalayim, Lishana Haba'a, Lishana Haba'a, Lishana Haba'a, Be'Yerushalayim. Gesundheit back there. Okay, I'm sorry that I didn't call on everybody, and I'm sorry that I shocked some people and called on them, but hopefully we will never have to do this again. May the scourge that is taken over our world be gotten rid of by next year. Next year in Jerusalem, an infection, a flu, a virus-free Jerusalem, and together we say, Amen.
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 I mean.
Amen. Okay, everyone.